Hello and welcome back to another Router Gods video. My name's Humphrey. We're going to continue on our series of becoming a sales or pre-sales engineer. And in a previous video, I talked about the traits that are great if you're trying to become an SE. Now we're going to talk about what specific skills you need to learn to get good at this job, to start being an SE. Okay, we're going to break it down into three categories. The technical skills, so technical skills, CCNP, routers, switches, firewalls, cloud, all that good stuff. Then we're going to talk about the business skills. Basically, you have to know how a business works. Now, you don't have to be full MBA, I want to run McDonald's type of person, but you have to know basic accounting. You have to know buying cycles. You have to know how a business runs. And if you don't, you're going to be in big trouble, because if you're just going to concentrate on the technical stuff, you're not going to close deals. It's going to be very tough for you. So business skills is very important. And then we will end up with the personal skills, things that, in my opinion, as a network engineer, so I'm assuming most of you are coming from a network engineering or technical support background, the last part, the personal skills, are probably the ones that you will probably have most trouble with. I mean, just going by anecdotal experience and the people that I know. Okay, let's start with the technical skills. You need to have a big picture view of things. In American slang, you need to have the whole enchilada, not just the routers and switches. Like, it's great if you can configure the routers and switches, you can configure VLANs, you can configure routing protocols, that's great, but you have to know how everything hooks together. The firewalls, the load balancers, the AWS, the Azure. If you've never done a tunnel to AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, you probably should start learning now, right, if you want to get into this business, because a lot of companies out there have tunnels going out to cloud service providers. They're using SASE and Zscaler and Umbrella, and they're sending traffic out there. So, companies out there are doing quite a few things. So this is a big learning curve, especially if you've been a network engineer at one place. Yeah, you know that network very well, but your network may have been stagnant versus all the other companies out there and how they're progressing. So big picture, you need to know more than just routers and switches. You need to learn about what people are installing on their computers, Office 365 and Skype and Intune and different MDMs. So it's going to be quite interesting road for you. A lot of reading, a lot of data sheets. It's going to be a lot of product architecture, marketecture, some people call it, but just definitely a lot of reading out there. You're going to aim for CCNP level knowledge of basic networking. So yes, you need the routers, switches, and firewalls to about a CCNP level. Firewalls, forming VPN tunnels is going to be a big one. Filtering content is going to be pretty big. And then cloud, you don't need to study all three cloud providers. I would just pick one. If I were to pick one, I would probably pick Azure. Well, Azure AWS is probably fine, but pick one, make an account, spin up a VM. I think all three should have a free tier where you could spin up a VM and virtual machine for pennies, or maybe it should be free, and then form a tunnel to it. Run APIs, stuff like that. Oh, speaking about APIs, technical skills, you're going to need to learn basic API scripting, Python. You don't have to be a god at programming, but you have to know, in these days, you have to know how to do an API call, right? Run in Postman. I've got videos on that on my Meraki Guy channel, but run Postman, call it API, and have the cloud or have something spit back the results. You're going to need to learn it, full stop. If you've been avoiding programming as an engineer, too late. If you want to become an SE these days, you got to learn API and scripting. Okay, so that's the technical skills. What about the business skills? You got to learn basic accounting. So CapEx, capital expenditures, OpEx, operational expenditures, how to read a balance sheet. So how to read a balance sheet, what does the revenue mean, what does income mean, quarterly, cash on hand. There's other terms on there like cost of goods and cost of business, all that wonderful stuff. Revenue per employee head, So you got to know how to read the quarterly report when it comes out and go, okay, is a company doing well? Is a company doing bad? Now, the reason for that is when you're talking to as an SE, you're going to talk to multiple levels of people. You're going to talk to everyone from the line level grunt, the network engineer who's handling the switches and the routers. He spends all day doing the VLANs and routing protocols and spinning up printers and stuff like that, all the way up to the CIO. And the CIO is going to be very interested in if you can speak numbers to him, right? So yes, your product is better, or your product may be just as good, or in some cases, maybe your product is not as good technically. Maybe it doesn't do 100% of what they want. But if you can argue for the case that, hey, your OpEx and your CapEx is going to be lower, it's going to pay itself back in 12 months because your cost per employee for troubleshooting is going to go down, then you will make your case. Those are terms that a CIO will understand, and those are terms that CIOs care about, because you walk up to your CIO. Now, generally speaking, there are some CIOs that I've known and some directors that I've known who are still very technical. Case in point, I had a customer in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, and the director of the department, he was CCIE. So, during a presentation, he busts out, starts doing he telnets into a router, telnet SSH. He putties into a router and starts doing show commands, and shows me the BGP config, the OSPF config, show interface, all that good stuff. And that's something you don't see a lot, right? When it does happen, it's like, yeah, man, geek out, and that's pretty cool. But it does not happen too often. Does not happen too often. Right? So basic accounting is going to be huge for you. Right? How businesses work? How do they start up? What stage are they in funding? Is it seed round? Is it A, B, C, D? What range of funding are they in? Are they in their last legs? Is the company about to maybe go out of business if they don't have a good quarter? Learning how to read the quarterly reports, the 10Ks, the annual reports, and also reading the news. So when you're on Bloomberg or Reuters, or you're on the company's website, there's news that they release. You got to read between the lines. Are they opening up another office? Are they opening up offices everywhere? Are they in contraction mode? Are they consolidating? Right? So businesses will try to call bad events, and they'll try to reframe it into nice, fluffy words. So instead of layoffs, they may call it a restructuring. They probably will call it a restructuring. So a couple places where you can learn about this stuff, and you got to get used to the vocabulary. That way it doesn't seem totally alien to you when you start talking to the directors and the CIOs. Get a subscription to The Economist. And so you could either get the magazine at the store, or get the annual subscription to the magazine. But what I have found to work a lot better is I freaking love the audio subscription. You get the audio subscription, download it to your iPhone, and on the drive to work, listen to it on the MRT in the subway, put on your AirPod Pros and listen to it. It's freaking awesome. You will get a masterclass education just from a couple months of listening to The Economist and following what they are following. There are books out there called like the Pocket MBA or MBA for Dummies or something like that. Do a Google search, you'll find all that stuff. Go on YouTube as well. Khan Academy, Business Basics, MBA Basics, those are really good courses. You don't have to be the robber baron or the railroad tycoon to be able to talk. You don't have to get at that level, but you need basic business vocabulary and the ability to talk to a CIO, because it will happen. And lastly, on the business skills, you have to know how to read business trends and big economic trends. And what I mean by that is, do you know if we're in a recession or depression? Is this business sector that the company that you're talking to, so let's say you're talking to a mining company. Are mining companies doing well? Is aluminum mining or copper mining doing well? How's the Chinese competition going for them or against them? Who are they selling to? And that could mean quite a bit. Are the mines that they're currently using, or I guess are the mines that they're currently mining, are they running dry? Because they don't last forever. How much are the costs and all that stuff? How does COVID affect the mining industry? So reading basic economic trends is going to be pretty good to you, because you're going to have an uphill battle if you're trying to sell into a company and they're just down in the dumpsters because of COVID and maybe it's in the middle of a recession. Things like, hey, right now it's coming up on June. Man, half of the year almost gone. But you blink and it's going to be the holiday season. Christmas is going to be coming up. Thanksgiving in the US, Christmas. And so companies need to prepare for those shopping seasons. And the economy will bounce back, and how will you prepare for that? Okay, so that's the business skills. And the last part is the most important part. And this is a couple things here. The small talk chip, right? If only we geeks could plug in a chip and we'd be able to do a small talk like the account managers can, like the MBA folks can, the people in the slick suits, right? So I know. As a former network engineer, there was a time when I would look at these folks in the suits and the directors and stuff like that, and they sit down with the person that they don't know, and boom, they just start talking. How was your weekend? How's everything? And after a couple minutes, they're just talking like buddy. And it was always amazing to me, like, man, I can't do that. Like, unless they're talking about World of Warcraft, what am I going to talk about? And so you need to practice and foster this small talk chip in your head. And it starts with basic stuff. How's the weekend? What plans do you have for the weekends? How's the family? You're remembering things about them, noticing things. Hey, I see you have a new backpack. Where'd you get it, right? So small things like that, noticing. A big part of this small talk stuff is noticing things. What new clothes did you get a new haircut? Man, you're looking a little ragged today. It's Monday. What happened on the weekend? So things like that. Or it could be something as simple as noticing what they brought in for lunch. Oh, Subway, right? You never get Subway. What's going on with that? Think like the customer. So right now you're a network engineer, you're trying to become a sales engineer, and you start spouting off like technical specs, and your customer goes, you know what? I'm a school. I'm a university. I have dorms. I don't care about the stuff you're talking about. You're completely left base to me, right? Oops, you just wasted 10 minutes of your time going in a direction that your customer does not care about. So thinking like your customers. What do you care about? Hey, so you're a school. Do you run into times do you get DMCA'd a lot because your students are downloading movies and copyrighted music? Oh yeah, we do. We get DMCA'd like every other day. Cool, right? Thinking like the customer. Hey, you're running a school. Is your bandwidth enough now because everyone's on WebEx or Zoom because you got to do your classes remotely through video? Yeah, we are. Think like the customer. So you got to put yourself in their shoes. That is a really tough thing to do, especially if you've only worked on one network, right? So think about what matters to a school. In fact, before you walk into a customer, think about what industry they're in, whether it's mining, whether it's banking, and think like, what problems would a bank run into? Safety? Yeah, safety, right? So, give you an example. When you're talking to a bank branches, every morning the bank branch manager arrives. They have to kind of do a little walkthrough or a check. Now, some bank branches, they'll do the interior and exterior check, just make sure everything's cool, right? Now, some bigger banks will have security guards that will do this, but generally the bank manager does this. This is also for restaurants and retail stores as well. The shift lead or the store manager has to do kind of like a general check. Are the lights working? Refrigerators working? Everything in order? Am I missing a table or two? Are all my windows not cracked? Is the door open or closed? Was it left ajar? So thinking like that. So if you're trying to sell a camera, I'm kind of if I'm in front of the customer, so I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. You have a bank, you have 50 bank branches, and some of them aren't really in great places of town. Have you ever had security incidents where you do the walk around and something happens? Oh yeah, we do. We had one last week, and great. Thanks for asking. So, thinking like the customer is going to be huge. Empathy, putting yourself in their shoes. So the small talk chip that I gave in the first bullet point, that's going to be huge. But the flip side of that is you don't want to just barrel roll and steamroll your way into a conversation and just keep talking. This is a big problem. No one likes a sales guy that just keeps talking and will not stop, will not let you put in a question, right? He's just looking at his PowerPoint and he's going. Everyone hates that, right? So a big thing is learn to shut the hell up and listen. Learn to listen. And this can be tough. This can be tough because you're a network engineer, you're quiet, and so you over-rotate and you try to become the extrovert during the meetings and talk, and now you've gone way too far because now it seems you're overbearing and you just won't stop. So learn to use strategic pauses, just like I do in my YouTube videos. I'll talk fast, blah, 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 and then I'll slow it down. I'll emphasize certain words. It's almost like I'm inserting commas into my sentences. So being able to adjust the tempo of your voice, being able to adjust the intonation. I know this is more like kind of public speaking, which is actually very tough unless you have a coach and you practice quite a bit. But learning to shut the hell up is going to be really, really important. Now, of course, there are other skills out there, but just off the top of my head, before I go out and forage for food. But I love doing these videos because a lot of people out there are trying to become SEs, trying to go from network engineer to SEs. This is a free series. It would really help me out if you give the thumbs up if this has been useful to you. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And once again, stay safe. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.